All right. Welcome, Kumar Swami. Thanks for your time for the interview.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
yep, I've got your CV in front of me, but it would be
Hi.
good if you can just tell more about what you have done, about your background.
Sir, I'm basically from Karnataka. I'm done B in mechanical engineering, and I'm 2015 passed out.
Okay.
And I'm currently doing a course in the IntelliPath.
Mm-hmm.
As a fresher, I completed a course and looking for a job. Sir.
Okay. All right. So your resume mentioned that you have been a lecturer for some time, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Uh,
So
Last 4 years, I'm working as a lecturer.
okay. All right. So and you said that in your CV it is mentioned that you have some knowledge about Docker.
Oh, yes, sir. Docker and Kubernetes,
Okay.
Jenkins, these are all tools I
Right.
have hands-on. Yes.
Yep. And it mentions that you have also done bits on AWS, build tools like Maven.
Uh,
All right, cool.
and Makefile. Yes.
Okay, cool. Uh, all right. So I'm not sharing your CV for privacy purposes, but all right,
Okay.
let's start. So when it comes to your containerizations, the first things that you do is start using Unix or Linux, right?
Yes, sir.
Have you?
Linux, yes.
So how comfortable are you working with Unix?
Sir, I'm intermediate level. I'm no basic commands to
Okay,
run the and the creation of the images and container
right. Okay.
creation.
All right. Can you tell me something about what are IP tables?
Sir, IP tables, not heard of this, sir. Sorry. IP tables, I didn't go through it, sir.
Okay, all right. So these are firewall programs for Unix, which can monitor the traffic uh, from and to your server.
Ah, yes, sir.
All right. So maybe let me ask something. Have you heard what is a filter in Unix command?
Filter means in the, what's the purpose of that one, sir? Filters, I not come across these words are new
Okay,
to
right.
me.
So filter is
Yeah.
something which can take an input, produce an output. So something like an
Ah,
awk, grep, a tail. So these are the
oh,
some of the filters.
yes, sir. These two, sir, I know, grep command for searching the
Mm-hmm.
patterns and our command for rows and column. We have to cut it. For that purpose, we use R command.
Okay,
And other find command is there. These are all two commands, sir.
right. Uh, Now, in terms of the Unix processes, have you heard of the zombie and orphan processes?
Yes, sir. Zombie process and orphan process. In that case, the parent process ID is not working with the child process. It will go terminate. In that case, the zombie process get failed, and orphan process I go through it, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of redirecting an output, what do you understand by redirecting an IO in Unix?
Redirecting in the sense we have to put the some text or files to the file by redirect command.
So do you mean that there's a redirect command in it?
Sir, in redirect command, we have to give file name. It will directly save it in the bottom of the file.
Okay, all right. You also let's move on to. You said you have worked on AWS as well.
Yes, sir. In AWS, I created EC2 and S3 bucket and IAM,
Mm-hmm.
CloudWatch. These are all tools, Cloud Formation,
Okay.
Cloud Trials. These are all tools.
So, in terms of your EC2 instances, can you tell the difference between on-demand, spot, and reserved instance?
On demand means it will cost more because we purchase it our need purpose. And the second one is it will it gives more less charges for 2 3 years useful purpose. We will take that one. And the last one is it rarely uses for less purpose. We use it.
The last one, do you mean the reserved instance?
Reserved instance, it will we reserve that particular instance for our need, and it will cost less for a reserved instance.
Okay. And what would you use an elastic block storage for?
Elastic block storage, we store it for some files storage. We use it. You use elastic block storage. In that case, we attach to EC2 instances.
Mm-hmm. And how many EC2 instances can you attach an elastic block storage?
Sir, for a particular, we use one.
So if I've got two instances and one elastic block storage, how will I add it?
If one is there, I'm not go through it. Sir. I will.
Okay. So my question should have been, can
Not,
you add it? Can you add one EBS to two running instances?
was,
Okay. All right. So what do you understand by elastic IP?
Elastic IP, it will, if we create an EC2 instance, if we we stop and start the service, the IP address will change. We use for particular consistent use in elastic IP, it won't change the IP address. For that purpose, we use elastic IP.
Okay. Now, in terms of security, have you heard of DDoS? Which is denial of service?
Denied of service, no, sir, I didn't heard of.
Okay. So so it's more like a malicious attack if to your network or transport layers. But okay. Now, in terms of the EC2, can you tell me about how would you harden the EC2 instances?
Harden means so, what
Have you heard of hardening EC2 instances?
hard thing? No, sir.
Okay, so hardening is mostly you need to disable unnecessary services and applications, and that can create more security to the EC2.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if so, have you worked on APIs?
API is the application programming interface. It will connects to the outer to the resources at the back end. It will access connecting for the outer resources to the access to these services.
So let's say if you're creating an API, how would you actually, what are the steps you would take to secure an API?
For a securing purpose, I'm not much aware of that also. I will cooperate now.
All right.
Because I heard of it, I didn't created a little bit no API.
Okay, all right. Now, in terms of your AWS network security, do you know what is NACL, Network Access Control List?
Yes, network access control list. It will explicitly deny the which are all resource to access to the particular IP using port.
And so what's the difference between security groups and NACLs? Because both of them provide a layer of defense. So
Yes,
can you tell me a few differences?
In the security groups, we usually has inbound and outbound rules. In that inbound rules, we use the particular port number for SSH and this we give for port number 80. From that port, we can access the resources. In NACL, it explicitly deny the outers to use the resources.
Mhm. Is there anything else that you can think of?
Uh, no, sir.
Does
I'm
any order matter in terms of NACLs and security groups? The order of the rules, do they have any effect on NACLs?
Knuckles. No, sir. I'm less.
Okay,
I don't know that one.
all right. Have you heard about CDN?
CDR,
Yeah.
CIDR,
No, not CIDR. CDN, Content Delivery Network.
content delivery network. I heard in the cloud formation. I heard it CDR, content delivery network. It will give the for if not if the latency is high, it will for use of cloud formation for to reduce the high latency for access the services.
All right.
In
So
that case, I
did
heard of.
you did you mean Cloud Formation or Cloud Front?
Uh, Sorry, cloud trend, sir. Cloud trend.
Can you tell me the difference between Cloud Front and Cloud Formation?
Cloud formation is it's a infrastructure as a code for only purpose for creating the AWS resources. It is not useful for other cloud services like
Mm-hmm.
GCS and Azure. For cloud print, it will give the front end to the access of the service. It will use the availability zones to for a low latency purpose. We use low cloud trend for a data transfer to access the information.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a term in AWS called sharding. Have you heard of it?
Starting, no sir, I didn't heard of it.
Uh, Horizontal partitioning of RDS. Okay.
No
All
sir.
right. Now, in terms of your infrastructure, do you know what does a hypervisor mean?
Uh, Hypervisor, I didn't have sir. Just a beginner and not much in that.
That's all right.
Hyper.
Okay. Uh, there are lots of questions that you have not answered here. So, what are the? I would come back to your strengths. I haven't even started
Yes,
up on Jenkins. So, how good are you in CI/CD?
CI/CD is a automation tool for continuous integration and the continuous delivery purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It will useful for just if the a developer take for the central repository and he makes some changes to the source code and he raises a PR request to the review manager or reviewer will review it
Mm-hmm.
and he accept the PR request and merge it to central repository. As soon as the central repository merges with the use of webhooks, the Jenkins pipeline job will get triggered, sir. In that case, it has three stage, build and test and deploy. In the build stage, it will generate the binary code and we use JFrog Active Directory tool for storing the var or jar files. After that, it will get successful. The deploy stage will get triggered. We deploy to the usually for Tomcat. In that case, after that successfully deployed to the Tomcat, the testing team will take care of the testing with their instructions. If it get failure, testing team will get take care of it. If is there any integration is the DevOps team will take care of it. In that case, in after the deployment, we use create the Docker images and store it in the Docker Hub. After that, we write for YAML file to deploy to the Kubernetes. By giving the image name, we write the YAML file. to deploy to the Kubernetes.
Okay, all right, all right. Let me come to my question first. So let's start off with your source control. So what sort of source control tools have you used?
Source we use GitHub.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in terms of Git, can you tell me the difference between a fetch and a pull?
Fetch will we take the central repository to the local repository.
Mm-hmm.
In Git pull, it will uh, uh, take the central repository, local repository, and it automatically merges to the current code. In
Okay.
fetch, it will store it in a separate branch. If we review it and otherwise, if code is good, then we will go through to merge it to the local repository.
Mm-hmm. And so if you have, let's say you have committed a code and now you want to revert it. So how would you revert a commit?
Revert means it will go back to the previous commit ID. If the present commit ID is not working, then we use git revert. It will roll back to the previous commit.
Yep.
We use a git revert and commit ID. We give
Mhm.
name.
Okay. And you said you have used Jenkins as well, right?
Yes, sir. Jenkins.
Okay. So so tell me some of the steps where if you are configuring a Git repository to Jenkins, uh,
Yes, sir.
how would you schedule a scenario where if a Git repository changes, your Jenkins is automatically triggered?
For this purpose, we use PolSM and PolSM and other one is I don't know the tool name. They use these two. It will get trigger if the Jenkins, sorry, if the Git is committed, is new committed is there, it will automatically run the Jenkins job.
Mm-hmm. And what are the advantages of a Jenkins pipeline or just running few Jenkins jobs in itself?
For Jenkins pipeline job, it will more easy for step by step run of the job. For building and for checking the quality check using Sonar Cube. These are all use it in declarative pipeline, and it will useful for injection of the particular commands and more useful for running the job.
Okay. Now you said SonarQube. Can you tell me the few
Yes.
common errors that you get when you have a SonarQube running?
For Honor Cube, we usually for quality check we use Sonar Cube. In that case, we use for code is not good or our expectation. For it will cover the code coverage for 80% for industry standard. Then only we go through it. Otherwise, we make some changes to give feedback to the developer. The code quality is not good in that game.
Now, what I asked was, if you have run SonarQube, you would know what are the major issues that are reflected when you run SonarQube. So there are a few common problems that you find out when you're running SonarQube. Do you know what these are?
For no, sir, I'm not come up
That's okay.
with that.
All right. Now, have you used any binary package management tool? Any artifact?
Binary artifacts, Nexus and JFrog artifactory for use it to store the for var or jar files
Mm-hmm.
packages.
And so, if you're using Artifactory, what are the different file types that Artifactory supports?
File type means in the sense a jar or war file or ER file, it will supports for that. In that it has a local and
No, I
remote and
understood the
central.
binary. I understood the binary part. Does it also supports Docker images? What sort of other packages does it have?
Docker images in the JFrog, it will support store the Docker images. Nexus, it won't support. In that case, we store the Docker images in the JFrog architecture tool.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of Docker, why would you use Artifactory when you have got a free Docker Hub available?
Uh, Free Docker for it will work open source. We for private repository we use JFrog Artifactory tool. In that case, it will ask more details of the complete step of the each tool. And
Mm-hmm.
in that case, if the current var or file is not working good, we roll back to the previous stored binaries.
Okay. All right. So, in terms of let me come back to the Docker. So let's say I've got a stateless application and a stateful application. What's the difference between stateless and stateful, and for which one is Docker more suitable?
Sir, I have heard of it. I am not much know the information. The for state full is I think good for Docker images
Do you know what is the
compared to
difference between
stateless.
stateless and stateful?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Have you heard of something called virtualization?
Virtualization in the means we create the just like a Docker container. It will have dependencies for the application to run use virtualization.
So, what's the difference between a virtualization and containerization?
Virtualization it takes more memory for all the software to run and the application to run. In the containerization, it less take the less memories to create the application, and it will support the all other computer
No, I don't. Okay, all
files.
right. I think it's the abstraction difference. So virtualization is more about abstraction of a physical machine, but
Yes, sir.
containerization is the process of abstracting an application. They're a little bit different than what you said. Now, I've got a few more questions here, but I'm not really sure if you can answer them. So tell me, so if I'm running a Docker, so if I'm running a Docker and the build for a Docker, let's say the first time the build takes 20 seconds, why does it take just 10 seconds or lesser in the second time?
Because it for first it will check for the images in the locally. In that case, it will take less time. Otherwise, it not present in the locally. It will go for Docker repository. In that case,
Mhm.
it will take and store it in locally. In the second time, it will less already present in the locally. It takes less time to run the container.
Okay. And you said that you've used Docker and you've used Kubernetes as well, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Kubernetes
how
worked.
extensively have you used Kubernetes?
In that case, I created a pod and deployment in that services. These three I created YAML file for the running.
Mm-hmm. And so can you tell me what are the different components in a Kubernetes architecture? Like what are the different
In Kubernetes, it has master node and worker node. In master node, it has API and scheduler and control manager and etcd. In worker node, it has kube proxy, uh, 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 containerd and kubelet. In the master node, the command it to take it from the kube controller from the user instruction. go through the API. API will send to the scheduler. The scheduler will decide where to create the pod, in which node it has to create. For that purpose, is all the resources are good for to create the pod in the worker node. It will decide. In the etcd, it will store the metadata of the information of the creating the uh, pod. And control manager, it continuously checking the pod, a desired number of pod is running or not in the worker node, and it gives the information to the API through the control manager. In worker node, the cube will take the initiative to create the pod and giving the information to the continuously to the API, and the container creates the container in the pod. And other one is queue proxy will allocate the IP address to the node as well as in the pod.
Okay. And so when you have a worker node, so how does it decide that which container needs to go onto which node?
It will take all the resources are present in the worker node. It's good to create for that. It will not create if the resources are memory or CPU is less. Is the not good enough resources is not available. It will not go create the container in the pod.
Mm-hmm. So there's something called as a replica set. Do you know what a replica set is?
A replica set we usually create for if the one pod is get terminated or any error, it will come. It automatically creates another pod for continuous use of the pod. It will go through for 3 or 4. It will create the 2, 3 replica sets. In that case, one get crashed, other one will work. In that
Mm-hmm.
case, use a replica set.
Okay. And can you tell me something about how does Kubernetes networking work? About the ports? Yep.
Kubernetes networking works. It has 3 in node port, and other one is ingress is there, and in the for a node port, it will in the within the node or a pod communicate to the between the two containers. We use the node port. Other one is there. That one communicate to the outside the pod for an node. In ingress, it will is the path-based routing system. It will allocate the outer to the node port for access the application in the path.
Mm-hmm. And so containers have got a lot of advantages. Do you know any limitations or disadvantages of containers?
Containers, it will more useful for creation of up and running using less resources, and for disadvantages, I no, I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. All right. In terms of deployments, do you know how to roll back a deployment?
For using in rollback, we previously roll back to the previous application in mentioning the YAML file for rollback purpose. For particular name is there, I'm not able to remember that one.
Is there a specific command for it?
kubectl rollback and give the name of the part, I think.
All right. Now, in terms of a disaster recovery scenario, what do you understand by RTO and RPO?
RTO and RPO, and I didn't heard of this version.
Okay,
In disaster recovery, I will know some information. If we
Okay.
for master node, we create three master node for disaster recovery, and that two one we create in the different availability zones for the disaster recovery for creating the in the different availability zones we create a master node for
As referring to recovery time objective and recovery point objective, but that's all right if you're not aware of it. Have you heard of something called as connection draining?
no, sir, connection training didn't.
Okay. Oh, in terms of S3, have you used S3?
Hello, sir.
By S3, I mean your storage, Amazon storage. S3.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Your voice is not audible. That's it.
Oh, you can't hear me now?
Now I am here. Now audible, sir.
No, not audible.
Audible, sir.
Okay, all right. So you can hear me now. So have you worked on S3?
Yes, sir. S3, yes, sir. I created a bucket in that S3. It is a simple storage service, sir. In that case, we store the objects in that use S3 bucket.
Okay,
In that case, we also host the static website also in
right. So do you know what does a multi-part upload mean and how does it work?
the multi-part upload. I didn't heard of that one.
Okay. Just last few questions.
Okay.
In terms of your IAM, so have you worked with
Yes.
IAM?
Yes, sir. I am created users and for a role also created.
Okay. Can you tell me the relationship between users, roles, and groups?
In the users, we create users and give the particular access to the AWS resources. In roles, we can give permission to the just like a for EC2 to Lambda. For that purpose, we use roles. And the permission, I'm not know much about that.
Okay. All right. All right. Cool. Thanks, Kumar Swami. I think I'm done with the interview. I'll just give you the feedback once I've stopped the recording, and then we can do it. Okay. All right. Thanks for your time.
Okay.
And I'm just stopping the
Thank
recording
you.
now.